Hi, my name is Mark Anthony Dubois Jr. I was born July 4th, 1986. I want to say thank you for tuning in. Thank you again. Something I want to talk about today is going to come down to a couple of videos that I've made before, and I want to continue to keep on talking about this positive reinforcement. Part 3, I guess. But a couple of videos I did months and months and months ago. One video is called, Does a Dog Know the Real You or the Fake You? Another video is The Secret to Having a Nice Dog. And another video, I don't remember what the third one was, but I took those videos down. Not because of what I was saying. What I was saying is right on point with what I really understand of today. But what I was showing is something that, in reality, I almost want to kind of do a critique video, my own video, to show you exactly what I'm talking about when it comes down to this negative reinforcement. Because those videos really show it very well with what I was doing with my Dalmatian. And using my leash and putting her in a down position and forcing her into that down position. And I didn't care anything about what it is that she was looking for, desiring, or needing. I was just putting my will on her of saying, you better or else. And that better or else is what kind of opened my eyes up to what I was doing and realizing it wasn't all that great. Where I was trying to use obedience to get something that I wanted from my dog. I thought that I needed that in reality at that time still because of how crazy she was. She's crazy. I don't want to use that term. That's the best term to use. She is wild. She's just on and everything, just psycho. So when someone says to me, Mark, my dog's wild and crazy and you don't know what I'm going through, I know what you're going through. And I purposely put myself through every situation that everybody's dealing with. I purposely get dogs that are the same as what everyone else is struggling with. And I purposely look for the dogs that are in the extreme so that I can really learn here. I don't want to just get easy stuff, get well-balanced, well-bred, perfect, amazing dogs that are just awesome, come from birth like that, which there are some like that. I don't want to get a dog like that because it's not really going to make me have to learn and make me have to struggle through what everyone else is actually struggling with. Something for me that I'll say is I'm not one to help someone to get out of a drug addiction. I've never really been in that. I'm not really one to help someone get out of an alcohol addiction. You know, I've drank here and there, but I don't know what it is. I could just stop. I just stop. I could just let it go and I don't have no desire for it. So in reality, stuff like that, I can't help you out with. I don't know nothing about that. But the things that I can help you out with is things that I've gone through and I'm going through and learning how to overcome. And when it comes down to this concept of this positive reinforcement, it's something that I think we as humans look at as being a dog disagreeing with us, a dog giving us pushback, a dog giving us attitude. But in reality, the dog is doing what it has to do to have a sense of survival behind it. Because some things that we're doing to them is putting them in that sense of fight or flight, which turns into survival. So when the dog has to do something against what it is that we're doing, we're perceiving that, I believe most people are, as disobedience. As opposed to the dog is going to a natural sense that is involuntary, that it can't control, of I got to get out of here because something weird is going on right now. Because in that video, or those videos, there's 3 in specific. I think there might be a 4th one in there that I've taken them down because it's just hard for me to even look at it anymore, seeing what I was doing to that dog compared to what I definitely know I'd never want to do ever again. It's just hard for me to see. To me, it was overboard. It was overboard in a way that I couldn't possibly be able to keep up with that. And that's the thing that I want to say to everyone that can listen to me, that understands me. Can you get your dog in this amazing place by doing certain things that you feel very uncomfortable with doing? But the thing is, the comfort level. If you don't feel comfortable doing what you're doing, you're not going to get results. And that's, in my opinion, why for me, straight up, this may sound soft. This may sound not masculine. This may sound everything that there's going to be a whole group of people that will attack what I have to say here. If there's a way for me to get what I want without having to do something that I am against and feel totally uncomfortable with, I'm going to try that out. But there's always going to be a level of discomfort. But for me, the discomfort shouldn't come from a sense of, the word I can come up with right there is guilt. A sense of I'm doing something and I feel bad. Like I feel like I wronged you. I shouldn't be doing anything in my life that is doing that, especially to someone else and especially to my own self. And if there's a way to get around that I have to, say, sacrifice something else that doesn't make me feel guilty as if I am, the only word I can use here is the extreme word, because it's how I personally feel when I watch those videos again, is I feel like I'm abusing my animal. I'm being a dictator to that animal and to that dog. and I'm enforcing my ways, and that enforcement has forced that dog to go into fight or flight mode, which going into positive reinforcement of itself to get out of the negative that it's in. And the negative that is going on is me forcing the dog to lay down. And every time she would get up, she's not getting up to be disobedient or not knowing what it is I'm looking for. She's getting up because she's terrified. She's terrified of what's happening. She's terrified of what's going on. She's terrified and not sure and has no idea of what the outcome is, what's going on, what's happening. She's only living in the moment and realizing this collar, this thing on my neck is choking me. It's getting tight. I don't care. No one says you can't choke a dog. You could choke a, if I take a dog, I wrote a comment like this, and someone has said that to me, that you can't choke a dog. If I take a dog on a slip leash and I hang it from a tree and I tie it off and I have that dog dangle, that will be a dead dog, guaranteed. My own comment on my own self got deleted because that's extreme sounding, and it is extreme because you can choke a dog. And anyone that says that you can't, I don't know where you're coming from with that logic. That if I just dangle the dog, it's going to pass away. It's not going to be able to have air to breathe. So that's what's going on in her brain when I'm doing that. I'm telling her to get down, and I'm using a leash system. Any leash system in reality that you're dragging a dog and holding it steady down, telling it to do what you're doing. The dog is going into a reactionary mode that is not thinking it through. It's not doing, it's just, it's automatic. It's a reflex. The dog reflectively got into, I'm going to die. I got to do something about this. So she started to try to run away. So she would run away, and I'll grab her, and I'll do what again? Put her right back down again. You better stay there is what I said. I never really use any language with it, but I just said it. So her positive reinforcement is to get away from the negative reinforcement. To get away from the initial negative reinforcement is the leash. She's unsure what the heck's going on with that. And then she started to realize, hold on a second, it's that guy that's got that leash. So now I really want to stay away from that guy, and that leash is just secondary. And then it got even further to the point of, this is where things get kind of dangerous. And it was a very interesting comment that came in a little bit ago that I made a video about it as well, about the concept of learned helplessness. The dog learned into that sense that no matter what she did, no matter how hard she tried to fight, and no matter how much she's trying to go against what she's automatically feeling, a reflex of happening of danger, run away, I got to get out of this. Nothing was working. So all that happens in the end is they have to give up. They have to learn nothing that I do is going to work. So that's what learned helplessness is. You just quit. You just accept that no matter how hard I fight, no matter how hard I try, nothing is going to get me to get out of what it is that I'm being forced to do right now. And that is, in that video, I stated, that's what kind of most of said dog training kind of gets out into. You start with a treat and say, can you please do it? And the dog does it. And then you're like, oh, it doesn't do it without the treat. So you go to the leash. Use the leash. So the common method that pretty much any trainer uses for a down is to use steady pressure down. Steady pressure. Wait until the dog puts all forward or all down, all elbows down, let go of the pressure, give the dog a treat. So the dog knows to stop fighting the pressure, to just go down and take the treat. This is the part where I'm going to say is the dogs are not learning. They're doing a training task. They're not learning what it is that you're looking for. The training task is stating to them, if you fight back, don't fight back. Don't even try to fight back, but just accept that this is happening to you. And that's why we're not getting anywhere, or I feel like for a lot of cases, not all cases, but most cases, you're not getting anywhere because the dog is not doing because it's learning. It's doing because it's learned helplessness. It's knowing that it has no other choice, or this pressure, this whatever, is just going to continue to keep on going over and over and over and over again. So the dog's best interest is to just do what you're asking for. The biggest problem that I see with that is the dog now is learning to do what it's asking for in the context of what's being asked for from it. This is why the dog is going to do when I have a treat. This is why the dog is going to perform when I have a leash. But who has a leash on their dog inside of the house all day long, walking around with it? And what happens in this sense is, I want to stay it in the way of humanizing a little bit of, it goes into the prisoner mindset. The dog is now a prisoner. It's no longer in this relationship as it's wanting to be, it's forced to be, and it doesn't have any other choice but to be. And that is going to make a dog be, what I want to say is, be a flight risk. And be a dog that is looking for every opportunity to get away, to just have some space to be able to save itself. to do what it needs to do to be able to protect itself, so it's going to be good to go. To get out of, the word used here is perfect, is the gaslighting that we're putting on it. It's being manipulated, and it's not really understanding why it's being manipulated, and it has to do something to get away from that manipulation. And its resource to do is that positive reinforcement of fight or flight. And this is the part where I can use the word of indifference, but it's not indifference because the dog has been able to get through it on its own. It's helpless because the dog has learned that no matter what it does, it's going to be forced to do what you're telling it to do. That's not, let me take those words back. In that situation, the dog, you're going to notice that in your life, that there's this tension that's going to always be going on. This is why you're always nervous when you're walking with your dog places, because of this tension. The dog may be in position, but you're unsure of what's really going to happen, because it's not the understanding with both of y'all is not together in a place that it's, I want to use the word of healthy. It's in a place of the dog isn't going to try anything because of it's scared. But dogs are smart that you're going to turn your back at some point. And that's why you're nervous. You're scared. Doing all these techniques, you can't just freely walk your dog around other dogs. Doing all these techniques, you just can't freely walk your dog around a lot of people. You're always nervous. I see people that almost every single person I see today with your dog, you're nervous. You're scared. You're nervous of what could and what maybe and what this and what that. And you're just always scared and you're always nervous. And in my mind, you're nervous because I don't think that you really know why you're nervous, but you're nervous because you sense something with that dog that you're like, I don't really have, the word I want to use here is that I will use, but it's not the best word to use, but you don't have control over that dog. I will say I've got control over my dogs. When I see them doing something, I'm just earlier moving mulch again. I'm just doing that every day now. That's a work. But my neighbor's dog is a persistent little bugger, and he barks at us and he tries to get my dogs to chase him. I'm very much in control of if they try to go and chase after that, I can say, guys, we're not doing that. That's what I would say is control in the sense of we're just not doing that right now. And that's something that I'm going to say I was never, oh my goodness, I saw something spectacular today with my Johnny. He always had to have an e-collar on when that dog is out because he just would look back. He literally would run and look back at me and stop and look at me and say, buddy, I don't care what you're saying to me right now. You don't have hands on me, so I'm going to go do what I want to do right now. That's what that dog always did to me. But I just noticed that recently, he no longer does that. I say stop, he just stops. I say don't do that, he just doesn't do that. I say to get off the couch, he just gets off the couch. I say get out of the house, get out of the kitchen, get off the couch, get out of whatever, get off the bed, get out of the van. He just does it. He just does it. He just does it because I'm no longer making him fear me in that sense of you better or else. And that's what I had with my Dalmatian for a little bit, that I realized something's wrong here. Something's not right. She doesn't want to be around me. And I have to have something on her to get her to want to listen to me. This is the thing that I hear a lot of dog trainers say. I've heard this in many interviews with people talking to people. My dog only listens if I have the e-collar on the dog. Then they just say, well, just leave the e-collar on all the time then. Is that training? Is that getting your dog into a good place? Like, what is that? That's confusing to me. Because the guys that I really like to pay attention to, wow, I got many bunnies over there. They're over there playing. The main thing I really like to pay attention to is the guys that really say it as it is. As it should be, I'm going to say. Who cares what it should be, it shouldn't be, but what it should be. I'm going to use things to get what I'm looking for, then I don't need stuff anymore. But that's not what's going on with most cases. Most cases, so once you start to use some things, you constantly keep on needing to use things. That's because we're forcing the dogs to continue to keep on having a desire to want to run away from us because of the techniques that we're doing to them. The positive thing that they're trying to do is to get safety. And when they get close to us, they realize they're not safe because of what we're doing. You better, forcing, yanking, pulling, doing all these things to the dog. And the dog says, that's scary to be around that. So worst case or best case for the dog in reality is they go into that learned helplessness and they just stay there so that they don't just keep going through that. But then what happens is once they have a little bit of leeway, they gone. They don't want to be nowhere near you, because that's where the beauty of the e-collar wasn't created to do what we do with it today. The e-collar was meant for a specific purpose, mainly gun dogs and working dogs like that, to help them when they're just way off and chasing the deer. And these dogs' drives are obsessive that it allowed the hunters to be able to recall the dogs off the deer. So they would tap that button, and it would give them a heck of a voltage hit, and they would say, okay, I'll go back to the man. But it didn't make these dogs nervous at all. It didn't make them shy. It in reality energized them even more to keep doing what it is they're doing, because when they would listen more, they get to do it more. When they're chasing, they're not really doing what we need them to do. But today we use it in a everything sense. That's why when your dog is away from you and you call them, they look at you. I see this all the time. They look at you. They don't move. They're just like, I ain't gonna try to be around that. But when you tap that collar, they'll run back to you, and they get this realization of like, man, this still does have hands on me. That's in my opinion, a fake way of thinking that things are good to go, that things are fine now. In my opinion, if that's what's going on, you should really dial it back and realize that something wrong is going on right now. Something wrong. It's not right now. Something very wrong is happening because of I have to always keep having said hands on this dog to get this dog to want to listen to me. Something's wrong here. It's not a positive relationship, a healthy relationship, something that is going great. There's something weird that's off. If your dog does not simply look at you and just say, okay, I'll be around you. I'm fine with being around you. I want to be around you. I care to be around you. All I want to do is be around you. If the dog is always just trying to run away at any chance that it gets, there's something wrong here going on. The relationship is based out of what I want to say is the dog is looking at you as a negative reinforcement and it doesn't want to be around you. And its positive reinforcement to the dog is to get the heck away from you. Whereas you want the dog's positive reinforcement to be what it is that I really appreciate that I've been able to really get with my dogs, in the sense of when they get scared and nervous of something, they come to me. I'm the positive to them. I'm the calm that they're looking for. I'm the safety net that they're looking for if something crazy is going on in the world. They see a weird dog staring at them, like, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do. They'll run straight to me. So I've made them look at their negative responses to turn to positive to be with me. I will be able to help you. But in most cases, it's actually the opposite. That's why you can't get out of said training. That's why you can't get away from the treats. That's why you can't get away from the collars and the corrective collars or anything. That's why your dog is always just giving you pushback, just pushy with everything. And if the dog is doing that on the outside, the dog is doing it on the inside. The dog is whatever doing on the inside, the dog is also going to display a little bit on the outside. But what happens on the outside that most people do is they force the dog into even a higher level of learned helplessness, that it makes the dog appear to be good. But then when you don't have all that said equipment and stuff and everything on the dog in the house, that's where you're still having issues with that dog. Sorry, that was like one of the loudest trucks that I heard in a long while. I don't know what he got. He got to go into race mode right now. He got an old broke down truck going into race mode with it. Like, buddy, you could preserve that thing if you just lay off of it. That concept right there is the same thing I can say about a dog. You can preserve the well-being of your relationship and you and your dog if you just lay off the dog. Lay off of them. There's going to be, of course, times. This is the main thing I want to say is there's going to be times that it has to get done because it's a safety thing. Then there's other times that why are we fighting and forcing and drilling and beating into a dog that has nothing to do with getting it into a better place and getting it into what it is that you're actually looking for, a calm stance. We're drilling in stuff that is creating these dogs to be even more of a mess, as opposed to drilling in what's going to be able to allow the dog to see you as being the world's greatest thing on the planet. That's what everyone should desire. I want my dog to look at me as the world's greatest thing. And when you are, pretty much anything that you say, not everything, there's never 100%, but pretty much anything that you say to that dog, the dog is going to want to do for you. It's going to want to listen to you. If you're trying to say to it, hey, don't chase this, it's not going to chase. The stuff that I used to do completely differently and think I need this. And I realized I didn't get away from it. Whereas stuff that I do completely differently today, I never thought that I would get to the point of being able to see my dogs do what it is that they do. It just doesn't make sense, in a sense that everything that I was told would tell me that what I do isn't going to go anywhere. That I'm too lenient. I'm too forgiving. I'm too kind. I'm too patient. I'm too everything. My dogs are going to be pushing me around and they're going to be demanding. They're going to be just ruthless. And I've come to realize it's a matter of what you're able to keep up with and what it is that you want to do while withholding something that you may want, but it's not going to come down to a sense of creating a level of force, a level of dictatorship. Something that I had to stop doing that I really wanted to do with my dogs is touching them a little bit too much and eyeballing them. I used to not really touch them as much, but eyeball them too much. I'd just be looking at them too much. I don't know why I'm just like staring at my dogs. I think it's something weird. But I realized it was giving them too much information that they just didn't need. That I was like putting too much expectation on them. That I gotta just let it go a little bit. And that comes down to touching them a little bit too much. Especially touching them at the wrong times. And for me, it's eyeballing, because if I just sit here right now and I just like eyeball my Dalmatian, I just sit here and stare at her, the first thing that she does is, because right now she's just curling up to lay down. But if I sit here and just keep staring at her, she gets this, because even Johnny, you can just see him, he's all instantly on it. They get this, like, that's where they start to get what I would say is pushy. But when I just leave them alone, I just give them that space when I want my space and just get off of them, I realize I get really, really nice dogs. And for me, personally, I don't know why, but that's hard for me to do. Everything, each of us is different. But for me, it's just hard for me to do that. I don't know why, but it's just hard for me to do that. And that's something that I had to do, as opposed to thinking that I need to give my dog a classic word of corrections and stuff with my leashes and collars and systems, that I have to do that. I felt uncomfortable doing that. And I realized that I don't need to feel uncomfortable. I just don't need to do that. And I'm still able to get what it is that I'm looking for in the end. There's things that I was doing that I realized I was forcing my dogs to want to get away from me because I was the negative reinforcement to them, as opposed to me being the safety, the neutrals for them that they need to be able to see, that they want to be around. That's why I've noticed today that I'm at a, I don't want to say 100% stance, but 99% stance that if my dogs are pursuing the chase and to get into something, I can call them out of it. And I don't need nothing but just my voice to, hey, we're not doing that. Straight up like that. I don't need to get loud. I don't need to get hostile. I don't need to get threatening. I don't need to get demanding. I don't need to get nothing. But I just simply say, hey, guys, we're not doing that right now. And they just completely stop. And they stop because they realize that excessive craziness that's going on, they want to figure out how to be able to stop that. Because most of y'all's dogs are chasing in reality because they want to investigate what it is they're chasing. Not that they're trying to kill it, but they end up killing this stuff on accident, like rabbits and squirrels and things, because they just get too close to it, and chickens and things like that. But they want to investigate it, and they're trying to investigate it, and they got this like this feeling of like, oh my god, and it just goes crazy. And in reality, they're trying to get out of that, because that's one of the key things I noticed about especially this border collie here. How he's able to work the animals. He's not excited working the animals. He's not overly like just insane and intense, because he wouldn't be able to get nothing done. Because that's where Johnny messes up. He always gets hit because he's overexcited. All done. He's overexcited. And that overexcited is not where the dog wants to be. The dog wants to be calm. When this boy is really working his animals real good, he's calm. It's creepy to see. He's so focused. He's so concentrated. He's just in it. He's not wild and crazy. He's not scared. He's not overexcited. It's just in it. And that's where the dogs want to be. So when the dog is chasing anything, even my neighbor's dogs, anything, and I say to the dog, we're not doing that. The dog wants to get to that calm, and I bring that to them. I bring that sense to them. That's why they want to listen, because I bring that calm that they're looking for to them. So they'll say, okay, that's good. As opposed to the other way I would use to do it is with, say, correction and punishment. That I would say, don't do that, tap, tap, collar. You still didn't listen. That's why certain of them collars are pretty cool, because they got the booster button on it. You can start it off with your little 5 or 10, and when they don't do it, you can boost it up to 60 or 70 points. So then you blasting them with a 75 or to an 80. And then the dog will stop. But the dog isn't stopping because it, say, is learned that that's what you want. It's doing it out of a helpless stance, that this pressure is going to continue to keep on going if I go forward. And that's not teaching it anything, in my opinion. That's teaching the dog to continue to keep on learning how to get further away from you. That's all that I just keep seeing is the unfortunate thing that everybody wants this closeness with your animal to be able to communicate to it. But you actually have something that is trying everything to get away from you. And this is a concept that I see. And unfortunately, when I just go places, I see married couples. Y'all looking the same way at each other. You don't want to be, you're not with each other because you want to be there. You're there because you're helpless. You have no other choice. I don't have enough money. I don't have this. I don't have that. I need help. I need this. You're not there because you actually enjoy that person. You're there because you're helpless without them. That's what these dogs are. They don't have any other choice but to be there. But the second that they are able to find a sense of freedom, so the second that your, say, spouse is able to get a job to be able to afford for themselves, Where do you think they go? They leave you. It's not funny, but it's funny. I've seen this and heard about this so many times, especially when it comes down to a woman that's there that feels helpless and she's just there. As soon as she gets work, she gone. As soon as she finds another man that's willing to be able to help her and take care of her, she gone. She's instantly gone. She gone. Because the other side has put so much force of saying, I'm not giving you a choice to be here. I mean, I'm not giving you a choice. You have to be here, and I'm not, it is what it is. That's so toxic. And that's just what I constantly keep on seeing, unfortunately. And that's what I realized with my stuff, my dogs just never want to be around me, especially this big man here. This dude never wanted to be around me, ever, period. My border collie's always been cool with me. I've always had a weird relationship with him because of the work that I give him. That boy loves me. I let him go chase some chickens, and he's like, buddy, you the best thing on the planet. I let him go chase the cows because today the cows are in the driveway. They don't move. So when someone says that there's ways around it, and this, just certain like cows in specific, when they don't want to move, I don't care what you do, they're not going to move. They got those little shocker kettle prod things you could shock the cows with, but those things are like this long. That means you got to get this close to them. If they don't want to move, they are not going to move, and you need a different way to get them to move. So when I allow him to say, hey man, can you please get these guys out of the driveway? Man, this dude does anything for me. Anything. But he's living his best life. It's all my other dogs in reality that I was forcing them to be with me, and they didn't want to be with me. So I was being a negative sense to them. And what's positive to them is to get the heck away from me. I don't want to be nowhere near you. I had to reverse that role. And I realized a lot of the techniques I was doing was double downing into forcing them to show like how you really shouldn't want to be around me. How you really should do everything you can to get away from me. And for me, that's why a lot of the needing cues and commands to be able to function in the world was actually slowing me and hindering me and destroying me. Me. The animal, yeah, but me. It was putting me in a sense that it wasn't real. It was fake. And that fakeness is something that I talked about in that video, but I was doing something. It's a good video to listen to, but don't watch it. Because I was talking about being fake, and I was literally showing how to be fake. I was showing it. It's weird, these videos that I keep doing, and I look back sometimes that someone always leaves a comment to one from before, and I do a little snapshot of it to look through it for a couple seconds to remember what it is I was talking about. And it's fascinating to see me say something and showing it. So maybe I will put the videos back in that sense of really letting someone just see. This is not how you do things. This is being fake. This isn't being real. Because the realness is the dog wanted to be nowhere near me. The fakeness was I can show that the dog was there because it learned that there's no other option but to do this or else. Because that's why she would keep getting up. That's why she would keep getting up and walking away. That's why she would keep getting up and running away at one moment in those videos in reality. She got up in a haste, like, I'm about to get the heck out of here. And I'm doing what? Chasing her down, grabbing that leash and bringing her back and putting her down. And she learned, I don't have any other choice. Or I'm just, in reality, I don't know what she's thinking, but more than likely, I'm going to die if I don't just listen. So let me just do this because I want to stay alive. I want to at least be able to live. I don't want to die. And that's what I see a lot of stuff going on this planet. That things aren't there because they want to. They're there because they don't want to die. That instinct kicks in. The part of the will that we have that's not free. We don't have the freedom of the will inside of us to just decide, I don't want to react and respond to that. You can get a buffer to try to get away, but there's certain things on this planet that if you're not, the word I want to use here is working on yourself, you're going to go into instinct of things that your world is controlling you. People around you are controlling you, and you don't get a chance to get a choice in the matter outside of move, change your environment, get around different people, do completely drastic different stuff. But then you're going to run into the new problem of the new things, the new world that's controlling you, the new world that's trying to get you to move and react. And that's the part that is weird in the sense that we're trying to get these dogs to listen to us, but yet we're doing everything of stripping everything about them to get them to do that, and not allowing them to be able to express who they are. Thank you. It's cold out here again. It's so weird. It literally was 90 something degrees the other day. And now it's like 40, 50 degrees again. And today's windy, so it's like 40 something degrees. Changes that just happen just lets me really see in real time how the more I try to control something, the more you foolish for trying to do it. It's going to happen. And when it happens, then what? Then what are we going to do? That's the part with the dogs that I believe most people are messing up with, because these are the conversations that I would constantly keep on just having with people. Hey, work on this. And they're like, but what about this? And what about this? And what about this? And what about this? You got to work on one thing first and get it right. And then we can worry about something else. But don't worry about anything else until you can get a baseline going. If you're worried about your dog walking on leash, focus on that and only that, and stick to that until you get somewhere that you realize the dog just wants to be with me. It stops pulling because it wants to be with me. It chose on its own will, its own freedom to be with me, because I'm not being a negative to it, that I'm being a positive to it. And it has nothing to do with, because the word is, I can't not say it is, it's bribery. Having something on you to keep trying to bribe the dog to stay with you. Luring and shaping and all that stuff is bribery. You're presenting the treat. All this training starts that way. You present the treat. You say, hey, do you want this? We're bribing now. And then you move the dog where you want it, and then you release and give the dog what it wants. If the dog is with you like that, you're not getting anywhere. You're being a negative to the dog, not a positive. Because you're proving to that dog that it shouldn't be with you, because you need this to make it want to stay with you, as opposed to just wanting to be there with you. I would just recommend slow down. Everybody slow down and study their dog to figure out what is it that it wants, so that you can be able to give it what it's looking for, so that you can be able to work with it and not against it. Because the moment that you start working against them is the second that they look at you as a negative. And the positive to them is to get away from you. They want to get anywhere they can away from you. They don't want to be nowhere near you. Something I would just want someone to think about.